every year, as you guys know, I produce a live show around Christmas time. It started as like a holiday party / live show. It's called Breakthrough. It's called Breakthrough. I was trying to do it without the cough. He coughed right when I was saying break. And it's something I'm very proud of. Last December 2016, we had Breakthrough 5, which means there was 5 years of Breakthrough, and it has evolved into something really special. This last one, Breakthrough 5, was the Hippo Life nonprofit organization launch. So we incorporated the launch into, thank you, Alejandro. We incorporated the launch into Breakthrough, holiday party, live show, and I mean, Breakthrough itself just personifies exactly what we do and who we are. So I encourage a lot of artists to write their own stuff. In Breakthrough, there's dance numbers, spoken word songs, and this last time for the grand finale, we all sang "We Are the World," and it was one of those sappy, beautiful moments, which people will never forget. Darryl Dillard is one of my students. He's been studying with me for 6 years or so. He wanted to do a special piece that was falls under the heading of social awareness. There was things going on in this country and in this world that he felt were not cool. He is an artist, and as you guys know, I encourage you guys to speak your mind. He did approach me and asked me if it was appropriate, and of course I looked him in the eye and said, "Is this the story that you want to tell?" And he said yes. I said, "Is it important to you?" He said yes. And I said, "Well, then you got the stage." He later produced it as a short film. It was directed and produced and filmed by Nick Marinson and Tadas Sportevicius. That's good enough. We'll edit out the proper way to say it. And I'm going to show it to you, and then we're going to come back, and all four of us will be on stage, talk a little bit about it, and you could ask him questions. Is there a title for it? What do you say?
You know, I would just call it Fed Up. This is the world premiere.
He's going to call it Fed Up. This is the world premiere of Darryl Dillard. We got to come up with a better.
I don't know. You caught me off guard with that.
There was something that you guys wrote down when you sent me the file.
Was it Breathing Room?
Who's with me?
What?
Who's with me? Who's with me?
Who's with me? That's what it is. Let's do this again. Ladies and gentlemen, the world premiere of Darryl Dillard's short film, Who's With Me?
Yeah, I forgot to put that on there.
At what point does the cries of "I can't breathe" turn into intent? When he said it 11 times on tape. Is it the second time? Is it the third time?
In a world where my life means nothing, I can't stand here all alone and die. I can't breathe in a world where I'm not treated like my brother. I can't breathe in the place I call home. I still wanna have faith in America. Faith in America.
Officer. Hey, officer. No disrespect. I have no protest sign. I'm not yelling. I got no rocks in my hand. I'm gonna hear you out. Help me understand why you had to kill that unarmed black man. and why you had to kill that unarmed black man, and why you had to kill that unarmed black man. And don't give me that, well, you couldn't see things too clear. You couldn't see his hands. His hands were in the air. There was no gun, no weapon anywhere. So explain to me, you know what, better yet, explain it to his mother, to his 3 small children, to his wife. Explain it to them why you just had to take his life. And you, my oldest friends, I'm sad to say some of these relationships are gonna have to end, because now I see your true colors and some of y'all are some racist-ass motherfuckers. Sitting there talking about, well, if what I saw is true, that's a shame. A shame. A man is dead. This is not a damn game. You sit there wishing and hoping for the killers to justify with lies. Now tell me, when was the last time you didn't believe what you saw with your very own eyes? You all lives matter, folks? You need to get the fuck out of here with all that. 2 more police beatings, 3 more police shootings. Where the fuck are y'all at? Just sitting back with not a thing to say? Of course not. Justice for all was never your true agenda anyway. Brothers and sisters, the time is at hand. We are being hunted. We must make a stand. Because right now, I'm not worried about heart disease or ISIS. The biggest threat to our lives right now is this and this. Who's with me?
I can't breathe. 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 I can't breathe.
In the place I go, I still wanna have faith in America. Faith in America. A land of the free and home of the brave. Faith in America. Faith in America. A land of the free and home of the brave.
Who's with me?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Darryl Dillard, ladies and gentlemen, who's with me? This is a project that you gave birth to as part of Breakthrough 5, as a spoken word piece that you wanted to do. I remember when we were putting together Breakthrough, you know, there's always like, is it worried about the content and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And Jason Rosenwald and Amelia Myers were the amazing directors of that particular show, Breakthrough 5. And we all got together and we sat down and you asked, you know, what do you guys think? And it was just a matter of backing you. And of course, 100%. This is the story you wanted to tell. This is the way you wanted to tell it. You know what I'm all about. And all you need is a stage. And so you got your stage, and then after Breakthrough, one thing led to another, and we'll pick up the conversation from there. But let's start with the original concept and how you felt about it and why you felt so strong.
Well, it originally started, I want to say, it started for me. Eric Garner got killed, and then a couple more, and then when they went to Baltimore and they had the riot, because I'm from Maryland, so it hit home even harder for me. And then I posted something about it, and I got maybe 20 messages, private messages, from people telling me, well, you're being too political, you don't know what all happened. And I have one friend who's been a cop for 20 years, and he was saying, just to jump to this thing is blurry. And I said, okay, so this one's blurry. What about the one before that? What about the one before that? What about the one before that? And he just kept saying, you don't know anything. Nobody knows about the police. So it came down to, we went back and forth for days, and we came down to where I finally said, look, I don't know what you go through, and I don't know what happens on a daily basis. But can you at least admit that there is a possibility that a police officer did the wrong thing? If you could just admit that, we can start talking. We can go from there. Just from that statement, I got like a big long thing telling me I didn't know what I was talking about, cussing at me, calling me all these names, and I said all I did was ask you to admit that there could be. I'm asking you to admit that a policeman can be human and make the wrong decision and do something wrong, and he wouldn't do that. And I ended that friendship. And after the Baltimore riots, I ended 4 more because of what they were saying. And I couldn't believe people that I had known for years, most of my life, were coming at me saying these things. And then there was a couple of people that I've known here in LA that told me, well, you don't want to do anything like that because you'll be seen as a troublemaker in Hollywood and no one will hire you and all these other things. And I thought, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And after that, I want to say Sandra Bland. There was actually, in between that, there was another one in New Orleans, and this is the one that got me. There was a guy in New Orleans who was handcuffed in the backseat of a police car, who was shot through the chest. His hands were handcuffed behind him, and police said he stole his gun and shot himself. Alton Sterling, yes, thank you. And no charges, no investigation. They went with it, and it just got me so up. I was just getting so more and more angry about it, and it just had me thinking about, like, every time I get out of my house, I don't know if I'm coming home. So I came into class on a Sunday, and I over a week, it'd been going through my head. I wasn't sleeping. I came in class, and I did this spoken word. And I hadn't written anything down. It was just in my head, and I just had to get it out. So I got it out, and I thought that was the end of it. I just need to get it out. And then you said something about it, like, oh, you need to do something else with that. And I was like,
it's never the end.
It's like,
it's just the beginning.
I just
How
need
could
to
that
get
be
this
the
out.
end?
I know. Well, the thing was, you came to me, it's like, yeah, you need to work this out and do it.
Well, of course, because listen, and this is why I said that to you, and I say that to all of my actors. This is something that you feel passionate about, and that passion needs to be fueled. And you can't just tell 10 people, 15 people. It's our obligation as artists to tell the world.
Yeah.
And you just need a stage.
Well, you told me that, and I was like, yeah, great. And then I got off the phone, and I was like, I didn't write a damn thing down. It was just all emotion. So then I tried to, I went back. I think someone taped it, so I had a tape of it. But then I also changed it a little bit because of what had happened in between. Yeah. So that thing about oldest friends was because it literally was happening. Mm-hmm. And some of those friends were also the ones that were going, well, all lives matter. Why does just one life have to matter? I said, well, if all lives matter, we wouldn't have this issue now, would we? And there was 5 more friends gone. So then I started working on it, and then Tadas saw it, and he had an idea, like, we need to, like, do something, shoot it. And after we did Breakthrough, we got a chance to shoot it. The guys wanted to shoot it, and we came in at 7 o'clock, or it was over Christmas break. We came in the studio and just shot it all in one day until 11 or 12 o'clock or something like that. And everyone was great. They came in, they felt passionate about it. Luis helped, Disco Dan helped, Kevin helped, and they just because they wanted to be a part of it. And
it's inspiration.
Yeah, it was really nice. Now, Breakthrough, I had never done a spoken word for more than 15 people. So that was a little over. I was like, oh shit. But once I got through that, I felt like, okay, that was something I kind of, a barrier that I broke for my personal breakthroughs. So when we did this, we had it and we did it, and I thank you again, Tadas, for your patience. We went edit and cut it back and forth, and because I had it, it had to be what it was, what you just saw, because if it wasn't that, it wasn't right, and I wanted it to have everything, and I felt so strongly about it that I was just I wouldn't. It was just Todd was like, well, how about that? I was like, no, it's got to be this way. Okay, how about no? It's got to be this. We got it. And I kept saying thank you, but no, we're gonna do it like this, because it was all it was. It might be the first time. Like I did a short film where it was some of me. Like it was a big part of me. This was all of me. This was every bit of a year of just angst and anger and frustration and sadness, and I had to have it that way because I felt like this is, if I'm gonna put myself completely out there, it's got to be the way that I see it. Otherwise, I'd be upset.
So I want to talk about how what you did in class inspired Nick and Todd to jump on board, and not only they also donated and gave up their time and stuff like that, which I'm sure they had no problem with. But introduce yourselves, guys, and tell real quick about how you inspired and what you were willing to do and what you will always be willing to do moving forward from here.
Hi, my name is Tadas Tapona. There was rehearsals for Breakthrough 5. And I came to one of them. It was maybe third or fourth already. And I sat down over there, and I saw, a couple people going up and doing their stuff. And then Darryl came up, and he did his stuff. And when he finished, I'm like, no applause, anything? Like, it's just silence in the room. Like, so it felt like it's back in the real world. It's exactly the same.
Like a metaphor?
Yeah, it's like someone is screaming, like, taking their clothes off, and nobody reacts. They're like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's nice. Let's do something, and that's it. Silence. So that's what inspired me to shoot this way, showing that there is no one listening. It's just one crazy man speaking to himself.
Yeah.
Like he's the only one that
shining the light on the fact that it's a human being speaking about other human beings and nobody's listening. I mean, it's a very powerful message. It really is. And what about you, Nick?
Hi, my name is Nicholas Marinson. So yeah, the same kind of way. I think the first time I really saw it in its entirety was at Breakthrough, and you had the slides and the music was all there, and I was incredibly moved by it. And Tadas immediately told me right after, he's like, we got to do something with this. We have to do something with this. And ideas were already flooding through my head of just having you just standing with the images projected against you and just having this music just playing. What's said with not being said. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
just being there and having people view it, just, I don't know, the imagery of that, of just having these images being projected against you and the words that you're trying to say and the message that you're trying to deliver really spoke to both of us. And we kind of sat down, and you guys may recognize where we shot this. And we came together with something really beautiful. And we had a few different cuts. There was some without the music. There was one that was just like a music video kind of thing.
I think this is cut number 8 or something.
And the way that this ended up, like, but this was beautiful.
Snuck that in.
This is how it had to be,
Yeah,
It had to have both. It had to have the music. It had to have the visuals. It had to have the words being there. So I'm really fortunate that I got to be a part of this.
And one thing I want to point out that is not 100% on topic, but I guess it is. Tadas and Nick are an example of people from the studio that got together, started a production company, and are filming things creating their own content. Nick and Toddis are both writers. They have collaborated before in the past, years ago, and they continue to work together. And they have volunteered and put the word out there that they will be available to help you tell your story, members of the studio and outside of the studio. This was the first one that you guys really collaborated with. That was not something that was written by you guys. And it's just a real cool thing. And it's a prime example of when you put yourself out there and when you show the world what you're willing to do, that it will come back and the opportunities will be there. A lot of my students come to me and they're like, well, I want to shoot something for my demo reel. I want to shoot a short film. I have an idea. I was like, well, who did you tell? Did you bring it up? Did you throw it out to the world and see who is listening and who will be willing to work with you? No. So I'm the first person that you told? Yeah. Okay, well, that's cool. I'm going to challenge you to put that out to the world. And I could go around the room and say how many of my actors that have done that, and the floodgates open. And within a week, it's like, I'm shooting 10 things. I don't know what the hell happened. This is a perfect example of this. And we create a family that we stick together. We could tell any story that we want. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't even have to be influenced by social awareness if it didn't want to be. We're still here. We're going to work together and we're going to get our stuff out there. That is the whole point. And to me, this is like a very proud moment. Everything from the very beginning, when you first did the spoken word in the Sunday class, to you inspiring other filmmakers within the class to shoot it with you and for you and together. And I mean, it's just the coolest thing in the world, man. So what are we going to do moving forward? What are you guys going to do moving forward? What is the plan here?
Well, obviously, we want to continue working with passionate people that, there is no, like you always say, it's like it can't end in class. It can't end with just being on the page. We need to make something more out of it. And obviously, Darryl spoke to us in that first piece, which is why this is one of our first projects. And so we're writing a lot of our own stuff. We want to work with a lot of you guys if you're really passionate. Like, we don't want to work with people who's going to bullshit around. We want to create something. We want to build something with you. So come talk to us.
Yeah. And what about you, Deep? Now that you have something like this under your belt and you realize that if I have something to say, then we have a platform to say it. And not a lot of people have that. And that's the beautiful thing about being an artist. But it's also a beautiful thing about being an artist that is involved in something bigger than them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you inspired to do more?
Well, I've kind of chatted with them about some other stuff, and I also have about 4 things I wrote after this, just because it just started. Once I started, it was just like all of a sudden, oh well, this too, and this, and fuck that,
and another thing.
It just wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I
well, life
started
doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, and I think like for this one, Toddis's idea about no one listening, and you see me come around and there's no one there. I think it's even doubled down with, and I know I fought for it, and I made his life miserable, but to get the credits starting, it was kind of like, and it had the reaction that I kind of anticipated. It was like, okay, it's over. Oh wow, that was really good. Just like life, that was really good. And then afterwards, everyone goes back and stuff is still happening and nothing's changed. So there's a moment there where you think it's okay, that's good, and then all of a sudden I wanted the weight of the actual sound of him being killed, being murdered, to bring people back in. It's like, oh, okay, and then it comes back with more, and then you end, and it's like, for me, it's like, okay, it's nice, I should do something, and then after that, and then at the very end, it's like, shit, I have to do something now, and that's what I want. I want someone to go, fuck, I got to do something now. I can't just watch it and say that was nice. They hit me twice now. I got to do something. So it was. Thank you for doing that. But it was a lot of collaborating and work. But I felt like that's kind of where the bigger statement is at the end.
Cool. We'll end it with. Anybody have any questions? We have time for a couple of questions.
Before that, I want to thank Kevin for super awesome help. I don't see
Luis left.
Disco,
Yeah, he
Luis.
left. And Disco.
Disco
left.
and Luis, really, thank you.
Yes,
It
thank you.
helped a lot. Helped a lot.
Yeah, the,
Yes.
the title of your short film was Who's With Me? So with that being said, how do you feel about Black Americans wanting equality instead of revenge?
How do I feel about wanting equality instead of revenge?
Yeah, when you said Who's With Me? Instead, Black Americans, they want equality instead of revenge.
I think that, well, first of all, revenge does nothing, really. I mean, revenge basically, if we're talking revenge, that means we would have to, as a people, we need to go kill someone because they've been killing us. So that revenge basically ends up you life in jail. And the guilty party is no longer guilty, they're a martyr. So equality is, despite that fact, making the light stay shining on the person who's actually the guilty party and keep moving and getting unity coming together would make that a much easier thing to do. If we, as people in general, but especially in the black community, like Romel's thing, High Yellow, if we start going, okay, someone wants to start talking about high yellow and dark skin and light skin, the first thing you should ask them is, if we're both in the car and we get pulled over, who's living? If the answer is none of us, then we're in the same boat.
So you said we need a black economic base.
Well, we had one for years and it was stripped
Black
away.
Wall Street, yeah.
But but before we can even get there, we have to be able to come together just as a community. You're never going to build until you get the foundation, and we don't even have that yet. So that's what we have to work towards.
Yes, Brent.
At the end, you held up the badge and the key. Was that a symbolism? Was that symbolism of driving while black?
Yeah, because it was conceived after several of the stops where you get stopped, pulled over, and you get killed. There was at one point, I think it felt like it was every week someone got pulled over for a broken taillight, someone got pulled over for nothing. There was one in particular. I don't know if I ever heard the name of the gentleman, but he got pulled over, and you could see in the video his hands were up, and he was saying, "I'm not doing anything. I have nothing." And they punched through the glass and started trying to rip him out of the car, and beat him and shot him.
Philando Castile.
No, not Philando. I know that this one. It came out later. They tried to say that a woman had claimed domestic violence on him, and so they were going after him. But if the woman had claimed domestic violence, what? Because he's giving up. There was no. You could see in the windshield his hands were up, and they went and got him anyway. They grabbed him and were beating him senseless and shot him. So. That basically was just the way I was feeling. I was feeling like if I get in my car, I'm taking my life in my own hands every day. And I come to class and I leave here at 11 o'clock at night. It's literally a life and death situation where you start to decide whether you're going to drive home or not.
Okay, last one, Crystal.
Is there an official release date?
For this, well, this is the first time we've shown it. We just got it. We got it finished.
Oh, okay.
So I guess when is this going to air? We'll make that the official release date, but then we're going to put it up.
Okay.
I'll put it on my YouTube page, and you can put it on your YouTube page.
I don't have one.
Well, you need a production YouTube page. You do now.
So I want to end it by saying this, and the biggest reason why I wanted to show this particular short film, along with all the others, is a lot of the stories that we tell and a lot of the things that are bothering us make other people feel uncomfortable. And I think if we're brave enough to make people feel uncomfortable without posing a personal threat to them, and only artists could do that, then it's our right and it's our job and it's our privilege to be able to do that. You make people feel uncomfortable. You put a mirror, like Romel was saying earlier, you put a mirror up to their face. like Brittany did, and the other 9 artists that were involved in the Empathy Project, the other 9 artists that were involved in the Empathy Project. It is all about making people feel uncomfortable, shining light on subjects that light just doesn't shine on. It's our duty, in my opinion, as artists to do that, no matter what your race is, no matter what your color is. Everybody owes it to the world. We're all living in the world. Doesn't matter what your race or gender or religion or age or anything. This is a very important time that we're living in. As backwards as it may seem, because it does seem backwards a lot, we have more opportunities now as artists than we ever have. We do. Whether you want to argue or not, we do. It doesn't seem that way, but we do. It is time right now for the artists to stand up and rise up and create this renaissance. It doesn't matter what color you are. You are an artist. You are a human. Your blood bleeds red, and so does mine. And that's the point that we're trying to make tonight and every night. We stand together as a family. We may look different and sound different, but we're not different. We just seem different. We're only different because everyone says that we're different. We're not. We all want the same thing. And we go after it. We put it in an artistic format. People will listen. They might not agree. They might even hate it, but they'll be passionate about it. You're not telling them they have to watch it and listen, so it will inevitably be their choice if they want to watch and listen to what we have to say. But when they do, it better be powerful, and it will make a change. I'm going to leave us all with that note. Everybody in my studio has the exact same opportunity. I don't treat anybody in my studio any different no matter who you are, and I think everyone will agree with that. We all have the same opportunities. The last thing I want to say is, what are you going to do with that opportunity? Every person in this room and everyone in my studio, past and present, all have the same challenge. What are you going to do? Thank you very much, guys.